welcome back to Breakfast Television. My guest today is Jessie. She's actually a media educator, and she empowers students and teachers to use technology for a very good purpose, and you're saying a creative purpose, not in a negative way. So first and foremost, welcome to the show, Jessie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to ask you, what is a media educator?
So there's two parts to what I do. I try to help teachers incorporate technology into the classroom. We're living in kind of a crazy time where teachers are expected to use technology, but it's not in the curriculum necessarily. So they're a little bit unsure. So I help them with that, and I also help students make their own media, and not just consuming media, right? Like we're exposed to so much media today.
Okay.
Instead of just consuming it without thinking about it, without really analyzing it, I'm teaching them how to do that, to analyze it, how to think about it critically, and also how to make their own.
Okay, so we're not talking about here going on social media, going on Facebook, going on Instagram, Snapchat. You're really using this for a creative purpose. So what is your job exactly? When you have this tool, you have an iPad in a classroom, what are you doing with it?
So we do two main workshops. The first is iPad stop motion animation. So I'm trying to teach them how to be little filmmakers, right? And there's no better way to understand how media is made than making it yourself. So we go through the three main stages of video production that any filmmaker would do. So the first is pre-production. So they have to think of a story together as a team, and they have to create little characters out of clay. Then they get into production with the iPads, and the iPads are making things so easy with animation. There's all these great apps, and they're really easy to use. They take a series of photos, multiple photos, sometimes hundreds, and then they add sound. They add voice, music, sound effects, text, credits, and then we have a little mini film festival with a question and answer. They get to be celebrated for their work. They can talk about the experience, and then we share their animations with them. So they own their own project, and the school can then share it on their Facebook page. They can have it. They can send it to their parents. So it's a really positive experience, but it's full of real media literacy skills.
And because of that, Jessie, I think, well, as a parent, I would be okay having my kids in the basement working on this project. This is okay. I'd be like, you're working on this, you're doing something productive. This is fantastic. So how did you get into this line of work?
Well, I made a film for the first time doing my undergrad degree at Concordia, actually. And instead of writing an essay, I wanted to do something visual. I'm way more of a visual learner. My dad's a photographer, and I thought, I don't want to write a 25-page essay. I wonder if my teacher will go for me making a documentary. And he totally did. He said, it's going to be more work because you have to do all the same research.
You're putting ideas into some student's head right now. You're saying, and forget the paper, do a video.
That's right. And I hope that teachers are more open to this these days, because you're doing the same amount of work. You're not just, it's not just making a movie. You actually have to do the same research, plus you're creating a really cool visual project. And so then I was working in the Yukon, actually doing some art camp, and I started working with kids and thinking more how I could integrate media into that. And you work with all kinds of groups.
I do. You're not just working with students here in the Montreal region, you're working outside as well.
Well, everyone needs media education. Everyone. From kids as young as 5 all the way up to seniors.
We were talking earlier on the couch. You were saying how you really help out the Indigenous community. How do you do that?
Well, I do a lot of work in the Northwest Territories, and I work with mostly Indigenous youth. And it's a really, like I was saying, instead of being passive consumers of media, now with very little access to technology, we don't need much these days, we can create our own. And there's so many stories and messages that we want to hear, that we should be hearing. And it's very exciting that we can now share these stories around the world. Like, it's crazy.
Well, if you're speaking about sharing it around the world, there are teachers and parents who are watching right now and saying, please, me, I want in on this. How can they get in on this?
They can reach us on our website, handsonmediaeducation.com. We have a workshop kit that we bring to each school, library, museum, and we also travel. So we do work in Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and in the Northwest Territories, and elsewhere if we're needed.
Okay, so before we let you go, you said 5 key important things when it comes to digital literacy. What are they?
Okay, so when you're watching any kind of media, when you're watching a YouTube video, ask who made this message.
Okay.
Right?
First and foremost, who made the message?
That's right. That's right.
Very important.
And what creative elements did they use to attract my attention? Right? And
could it be pranking? Something silly.
It could be something silly, right? It's also an
People
important.
love that.
Yes, that's right. It's also even as simple as trying to think about the audio and visual elements.
Okay.
Right? The music we hear in videos, we don't even sometimes realize it's making me feel like so sad, but it's actually, it was a choice. It was a creative choice. And then you want to think about what types of lifestyles and values are presented in this media, which ones are included and which ones are omitted.
Oh, okay, very important.
Right? Another one is, how could someone else interpret the same message differently? Okay,
that's good to know, because there are a lot of crazy videos on social media as well. Some are really good, some of them are empowering, some of them are moving, but some of them are sending out a negative message. So this is really important information.
Yep.
Well, Jessie Corral, thank you so much for being on the BT Couch. Guys, stay tuned. Coming up after the break, we have your daily download.